And then after every meeting, we have people come to us and say, I want to sponsor a room. I want to pay for the food next time. We want to provide the food next time. We had an entire organization provide the food at our last meeting because they were recipients. So they wanted to give back, not the organization, but the people, the volunteers of that organization, pooled their money, got a caterer, and provided food for over 200 women.
Hello and welcome to the Inspired Woman Podcast. I'm Marcy Narum. This podcast is dedicated to impacting a multitude of women with its mission to celebrate, encourage, empower, educate, entertain, and connect women. It's my pleasure to introduce Deidre Hillman today on the Inspired Woman Podcast. You're an inspiring woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here today.
Of course.
And for people who don't know who you are, let's just start there. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. Well, I think I will always claim that I'm a Bowman Bulldog for the Bowman Bulldog fans out there. But I did grow up mostly in the Bismarck community, graduated at St. Mary's and stuck around, did my college degree at University of Mary. Married to my husband, Matt, and have a beautiful girl who's turning 3 next week, little Harper. So she's, of course, my inspiration with a lot of things that I do. Those are my primary focus, my career. I'm the director of the Women's Business Center for North Dakota. We have two locations, one located in Bismarck and one in Fargo, and we're a statewide entity. And that in 30 seconds or less is a nonprofit organization, and we help women start and grow businesses. And then we also do leadership and professional development throughout the entire state.
Mm-hmm. The professional development, the leadership that you do, tell me a little bit about that.
So we have a variety of programs. We celebrate Women's History Month in March with our Leading Ladies Luncheon. We have several hundred women that attend that, where we highlight women throughout North Dakota that are making change makers, if you will, in their professions and communities. We have our Women's Business Summit, and most of our events are kicking off in their 7th, 8th year. We're celebrating our 7th, 8th year, even though the organization itself, we're celebrating our 20th year, actually. But some of the programs we've launched are in their 8th year. So our Women's Business Summit this year is in its 8th year, and that is to celebrate Women's Professional Month in October. And that is an event where we bring together entrepreneurs and professional, like-minded women for a 2-day event here in Bismarck. So this year it's hosted at the Heritage Center and at the Event Center. So watch for information on that. We're working on our speakers and our keynote. And then our Women's Leadership Program, and if anybody does follow us, knows that we just celebrated another graduating class yesterday, and so my heart is full of celebrating 21 women that graduated out of a 6-month-long leadership program. And that program takes place in Minot, Bismarck, and in Fargo, and it's 6 months long, 1 day a month, and a community project as well, a philanthropic project as well takes place, and we focus on 4 areas of leadership with women. It's professional leadership, healthy leadership, personal leadership, and community leadership. And we really try to let women know, building some confidence, but let women know that we're balancing so many plates, and sometimes you got to set one on autopilot and spin a couple of other ones, but it's really that sweet spot. How do you find some balance in all 4 of those areas?
Sure.
And so that's probably one of our programs that's really well known as well locally.
Very well known, and people speak very highly of it. Women who have been through the program rave about it. Yeah. And in fact, I just had coffee with one of the graduates who, in fact, right after she started, she said something to me about how wonderful you and Deb are and what a great program it is. And then today, her dream and her vision is even bigger than when she went into the program.
I hope so. I hope so. That's why we do it. And statistically, 2 out of every 20 graduates start their own business. And so we try to support them, of course, through that entrepreneurial journey. But yesterday, the word that was used many times by the graduating classes, I think I found my tribe. I think I found a network of women I didn't know existed. And it was organic. It wasn't forced. Many of the women, sometimes they know each other when they kick off the class, but a lot of times they don't. And so at the end of 6 months, they've walked away with a whole new network of people that when they have an opportunity, they can reach out. If they have a challenge, they can reach out. So lots of smiles yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple of words, maybe 3, that I want to pull out from what you've said already is philanthropic and support and networking.
Yeah.
Because what we're really here to talk about today is the power of 100 and what amazing work that you've done with this.
Yeah.
And so tell us about the power of 100.
Well, and it goes full circle with the leadership program. So myself and our director, Deb, we were out in Fargo, and the venue that we were hosting our leadership program in Fargo was hosting a Power of 100 event that evening for the Fargo community. And we ran into someone mutual who said, you need to bring this to Bismarck. And at that time, we just wanted to research it a little bit. So we did. We paused, and then we thought, how can we do this? How can we bring this to the Bismarck community, non-work related? It's 100% volunteer, although the North Dakota Women's Business Center does sponsor it. This is Deidre's volunteer hat that I put on for that. And so we were reintroduced then. Deb and myself were introduced to Tess Schlafman. And I know you know her. And many people in the community do. And the 3 of us sat down and said, I think between the 3 of us, we can make this happen. So in 2017, with very short notice, we all reached out to our networks and developed the BizMan Power of 100 here. And so it is a borrowed idea. And I can tell you a very condensed history, probably not with 100% facts, but the basics are a woman who was trying to raise funds for cribs for an orphanage and came up with the concept of she was trying to raise $10,000 worth of cribs. So I can go find 10 people and ask them for $1,000, or I can reach out to 100 of my friends and ask them for $100 and get the same result. And she did that, and that was the power of 100 women with a $100 bill. And so this is actually nationwide. I just talked to my sister in Salt Lake who works at a nonprofit and said, you need to check out, and found out Salt Lake has 2 Power of 100s. And so this is a borrowed concept, but I think every community also does it differently. And that's truly what it is. It's based on each community's needs. So Fargo, we went out to one of their events and experienced it live, came back and said, what will work for the women here? And then we also visited with the chapter in Dickinson and found out what they were doing. And we all do things just a little bit differently, but we are getting close to we just wrapped up our 2nd year, so we're kicking off our 3rd year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
And really significant because of the goal that you're really close to and will have no problem reaching, right?
Yes.
Or the milestone, I should say.
I don't, Deb and Tess aren't here, but I don't know if we knew we had a goal other than that first meeting. We wanted to raise $10,000. And so we were so lucky. We were friends with John Simmers and Katie Simmers and reached out to them and asked if we could borrow their hangar at Bismarck Aero Center. And probably just another crazy idea. He loaned us his staff. They cleaned out a beautiful hangar. If you go on our website, it's the pictures that we got at that very first meeting were phenomenal. And received donations for some food, threw together a taco bar. We partnered with Main Street Bar here, who brought out a mobile bar so we could all have a couple of beers and wine before we got up there. And the nominations started coming in. So I'll back up a little bit and explain.
Yeah.
The drive here is that a woman can become a member, and they submit a membership form. And what the ask is that you join 4 meetings, and at each meeting you bring $100. It used to be a $100 bill, but the charities would prefer a check now. Okay. So you bring a blank check and written out for $100, but with the 2 blank, because we don't know who will be the recipient of it. And so that member commits to coming to 4 meetings or $400 a year, or they can join teams. And that's actually, we see a lot of teams formed. So you and I, Marcy, could join a team and then we split those expenses. So it's $50 every meeting. Or I myself am on a team with 3 people. And so I write out my check for 33 or 34, depending upon if it's my turn for that extra penny, to just come up with that $100. And then when we arrive at that meeting, that quarter, we get a vote. So every $100 you get a vote, essentially. And there are some women, I know one that's on 3 or 4 teams herself. So she's contributing her $100 split.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the members then can nominate a nonprofit, and that nonprofit can be nominated multiple times. And so I'll pick on maybe Tracy Sanctuary because she's been selected. Kelsey was a recipient. She's also a member. And so 3 or 4 of us could get together and put her name in the hat to be drawn. And if that is drawn the evening of the meeting, then Kelsey gets an opportunity to get up and speak to our members for 5 minutes and talk about what she would do with their $100.
Okay.
And that pool, of course, that's the $10,000 was our initial goal, and we hit it at our very first meeting. And so it is, I call it speed dating with nonprofits.
Okay.
Is what I call it, except for you're only going to get to hear from 3 of them, but there could be 25, 30 of them in that drum, but only 3 of them will get selected and have an opportunity to speak to our members and explain how would you use this money and why do you need it. And the rest, we hate to say that you don't get a chance tonight, but please come back next quarter. You got an opportunity to be here. Go visit with some members, talk to them, ask them to nominate you next time.
So there are 3 that are drawn, and then does only one get
only
the check?
One? Yes.
And how does that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. So there's a voting component.
Okay.
I should mention that. So the way our agenda works from 5:30 to 6:30 every quarter that we meet is a social. And I cannot believe how many women show up at 5:30 just to get together with friends and peers and kick back and catch up maybe over what's happened in the last couple of months. And then our meeting officially starts at 6:30. We do the 3 drawings. The 3 members come up, or the 3 nonprofits come up and speak. And then the vote happens. So that $100 nominate, that $100 that you bring, you get that voting slip. And so the members, if you're on a team, you need to have a discussion. Or if it's just you pick, was it 1, 2, or 3? Which charity do you feel is most deserving of your dollar during this meeting? And then the votes are tallied, and that's how it's decided.
Okay. I was just remembering doing an interview with you and Tess and Deb in 2017 when you started this. And I remember Deb saying how cool it is to hear the sound of checks being ripped out of checkbooks all at the same time.
Yes. So we've tried to capture that moment but our members are getting so fast and they're pre-checking them out of their checking account. But it is a pretty cool sound that we experienced in Fargo. And I think that's when Deb and I got our goosebumps, is not only seeing that nonprofit come up to accept and see that they were selected and voted on, but that noise of hearing a couple of 100 checks or 100 or so checks being ripped out at the same time. It's pretty fun sound.
So how much noise have they made in Bismarck, Mandan?
Well, financially, we are just below $100,000 in less than 2 years, which I think is phenomenal. I was just doing some math, and I think we're right around $96,000. Now, what I will tell you, I'm going to brag a little bit, and I think even some of our members don't know that this happens. We've seen it because we're in the front of the room, and so we know the 3 nonprofits that have spoken, and we see members get up and write 3 checks and give out checks to all 3 of those. And we've had people come and tell us, I wasn't even selected and I received some funds. Wow. We've also had situations, I'll highlight our Christmas event. Carol Cashman is a member of ours, and she 2 years ago at Christmas said, I want to help decorate. I want to bring in some Christmas trees. And the American Bank Center in Mandan donated an upper level of their office to us. It was empty and beautiful white, everything white, beautiful pillars, lots of history. And Carol brought 3 or 4 Christmas trees and all these beautiful centerpieces, coffee mugs with greens and pine cones, Christmas decor. And at the end of it, she said, well, I was wondering if people wanted to buy that decor, because I really don't want to take it back, can we then divvy that up to the 2 other organizations? And so I know that the nonprofit selected that night received a check for over $10,000, and then the other 2 received several $100s. And we did that again this year. And Carol brought wreaths, and I don't want to completely misspeak, but I'm pretty sure each one of those other 2 nonprofits received over $1,000. So we don't even know, as organizers of the committee, how much money is exchanged above and beyond that. These women are so generous. And I think the nonprofits get up there and they really tell their story, and they only have 5 minutes. So they have to get raw really quick. Yeah. And I think the women connect and just really open up those accounts.
What does this mean for you?
Yay.
I mean, personally, and I noticed Power of 100, the zeros on the 100 are hearts.
Yes, they are. It was fun and coming up with the design. Well, for me, I think I'm incredibly proud of this. I'm proud that we, first of all, Deb, Tess, and I were not women sitting around waiting for something to land on our plates to fill our time.
Oh, right. No,
we're a little busy, which is why I was late here today. I'm always late. So I think for me to stretch and grow and go, I think we can do this, and then to celebrate with Deb and Tess at the end of that very first one, and raise our glasses to the 3 of us, because we were really not sure how the community would respond. And then after every meeting, we have people come to us and say, I want to sponsor a room. I want to pay for the food next time. We want to provide the food next time. We had an entire organization provide the food at our last meeting because they were recipients. So they wanted to give back, not the organization, but the people, the volunteers of that organization pooled their money, got a caterer, and provided food for over 200 women. And so I just get goosebumps every time. The other thing I think for me, what does it mean personally? I don't know if she'll watch the one member. I was out, we took Harper for a walk and stopped to talk to some people. And the woman said, oh, you're Deidre with Power 100. And I said, I'm so sorry. I don't remember your name. And she said, I don't know how you can. You host a party of over 200 people. And I love hosting events. I love hosting parties. And to me, that first part of that meeting is just a big social of gathering of women. And so that's where I get really energized. And even though it feels like work and it's exhausting at the end of it, I just really enjoy that I get to have fun. I get to get up there and show my personality. And yeah. So for me, it's so many things: giving to the community, gathering all these people together that don't know each other. And then I get to meet these people that I don't even know me.
Yeah. Well, Deidre, it just occurred to me that this event that gives women an opportunity to donate, to give to organizations, is a gift that you're giving them. You know what I mean?
It's a platform.
Giving them. Yeah.
It is a platform. And our members, so at our 1-year anniversary, we just designed some postcards and asked our members to give us some statements that we can use and to share with our branding and marketing. And those touched us. And that we heard, this is so easy. There's no, although we have an agenda, schedule, there's no agenda. I don't know who I'm going to hear from. I don't know exactly if my whole team's going to show up or if I'm just going to show up and be representing, or if I'm going to sit at a table with new people I don't know. It's just so easy. And then the second thing is, I didn't even know these were organizations in my community over and over and over again. And those nonprofits, because you do have to be a nonprofit local as well. So you do need to give back to the Bismarck Mandan community. They come up and say that what a great gift. Even the one woman got up and talked about how she would use the funds if she was the recipient, or if that her organization was the recipient. And she talked about the need for some help with grant writing. There was a member in the audience who specializes in grant writing, went up to her afterwards and said, I'll help you with this grant writing. So we get to hear all these fun stories all the time. But Yeah, thank you. I guess I agree. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to pull it together. I certainly don't do it alone. Deb, Tess, and I, we all have our areas of specialty, and we divvy it out every time. And yeah, I guess we do help with that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so does a nonprofit get to be a recipient more than once?
Yes, and I would have to cheat and look at our forms. So the organization must fill out, it's a 2-part form or 2-page form, front and back. And that's one of the questions is confirming that you're a nonprofit. But on the top, we talk about some of the rules, which is that we must verify that they're a nonprofit. And I believe they need to be 12 or 18, maybe even 3 years old. I can't remember my specs there. And then if they're selected, they cannot be reselected again for either 12 or 18 months. That's why I might be getting some of my details mixed up. But yes, so some of them that were selected the very first year now are eligible again.
Okay.
Yes.
And a recent Facebook Live video that I saw, you were presenting a check to Roxanne Romanic with Designer Jeans.
Yes.
And it was something like $14,000?
Yes, or $14,000. And we, of
Wow.
course, track our members. And even though we ask them to commit to 4 meetings, we have some that maybe commit and then there's a life change or a move or something, so they're not able to commit. And we have some members that have been with us since day one and continued on. So we'll be joining us for our 9th meeting, kicking off our 3rd year. I cannot believe that. And we don't necessarily know sometimes if I brought you as a guest, or maybe my sister was in town visiting and I brought her as a guest and she was so moved to donate as well. We wouldn't even necessarily know that. So sometimes we have checks from non-members as well in there. But I will say we're over that $14,000 mark. I actually talked to a member today. I know she's listening or going to be listening, and she just found her check. So she forgot to send it in to us. So Roxanne, your number is going to go up a little bit. But that is true. Sometimes we have members that can't be, and if you cannot be at a meeting, we still ask that you send in your check, and that's part of the commitment. And Roxanne will probably receive checks afterwards because there were just members that were out of town or just forgot. And even though we send reminders, we actually say as volunteers, that's the hardest thing is the follow-up of tracking down the money afterwards for the members that aren't there.
Yeah.
Just a little plug to my members. Anything you can do to get that check in.
Wink, wink, nudge,
Yes,
nudge.
yes.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so it's quarterly.
Yes.
Are there specific months then that you aim to have them, or?
There's probably been a pattern. So we kicked it off in June and had our birthday celebration, if you will, the following June. And then, of course, we've got a meeting this June. And then I think the rest maybe fall dependent upon venue schedule, that sort of thing, maybe other community events. We try to not, compete or overlap with any other events going on. So yeah, but they're probably pretty close. So we'll have one in September. We'll have one probably early December to stay, in between the 2 holidays there and celebrate the holidays as well. And then probably kick it. Yep. So there's probably about a pattern: March, June, September, December, I would say. And yeah, our next one is in 2 weeks.
What's the date?
June 25th.
Okay.
And we are at Baymont in Mandan. They donated space to us this time. So one of their employees is a member. And that's oftentimes what happens is a member comes up afterwards and says, okay, my turn. I want to know how I can help. We had a group of women on our 1-year anniversary come up, and they wanted to remain anonymous, but they were grandmas that they called themselves the baking grandmas or so. I don't remember what their name was, but they baked us beautiful 1-year birthday cake and cupcakes for everybody.
Oh, wow.
So that was a fun little gift. And then that one, Dakota Community Bank, they have a couple of teams. The women at Dakota Community Bank actually lined up their grill. And so the guys were outside grilling for all of us ladies. And so we've just been so lucky to have such great sponsors.
This is a great community, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
so generous.
Yes.
So generous. Yeah. I don't know if Deb, Tessa, and I don't know if we thought we'd be going this, like celebrating or going on to our 9th one.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you find that women are still hearing about it and I didn't know about Power of 100, or is it
I still hear that. I still hear, oh, tell me more. I didn't know about it. And we do offer some incentives to members. Hey, bring a friend, bring a non-member tonight. We'll put you in for a drawing of a gift card. We have room for growth. I will say we're maybe capping out on some spaces. And so there are some spaces that we used to be able to go to that we can't anymore because we've just outgrown them. So that's a great problem. So we are over 200 members, and I should have done my check, but I didn't before I got here today. But we're well over 200 members, but a lot of them are teams. And so if they do bring their entire teams, that's 4 people, and that's fantastic and that's great. But then we need four chairs, and so some venues we've grown out of, but we will keep going. I did have somebody suggest, and I haven't even told Deb or Tess this, I don't think, but somebody said maybe you should cap it at 10,000 and start a second chapter. And I thought, oh boy, I don't know.
Somebody else can do that, right?
No, and I do also think that we're going to see a plateau because there have been members that have been through it for 2 years, and just like anything, you maybe sunset out. Now I want to try to do something else. We had one member that said, I actually connected with an organization, and so was a member for 2 years, and now said, I'm actually going to volunteer in a different way with that particular organization. Which I get it. So
that's really cool, though.
Absolutely, it is.
That's a different kind of success story.
You bet, and I appreciate that. And I know if the time's right, she'll become a member again. You never know.
Yeah.
So it's just been pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. It's really a gift to the community as well. I mean, just thinking about, can you mention some of the nonprofits that have been recipients?
You bet. So I mentioned Tracy Sanctuary House, and that was so special because we talked about our women's leadership program, and I actually used to work with Kelsey, and so I had some deeper heartstrings on that one. And she had actually been nominated a couple of times and spoke with the members a couple of times. And so I think if you would ask someone who has got up and spoke, looking at a couple hundred faces and trying to explain in 5 minutes or less what you're going to do with their funds, I think Kelsey would tell you she told a different story. I think she was nominated and selected 3 times to speak, and it was that third time that those members connected. And so they need to be prepared too. She was one, Furry Friends Rock and Rescue. I mentioned them as well. They were a recipient, and I don't know if props help. They always bring cats and dogs, and then they were selected, and I made them promise because they're also members. So I said, just because you can't be nominated now, you still need to bring some cats and dogs. We, designer jeans. That was a great one. Roxanne was so fun that night because none of her team members were there. And so she was running solo. And so she said, oh, shoot, I don't have any witnesses, but did a fantastic job. And I think that was the first time they were selected. So those are a couple of examples and we do try Christie's Hearts Hugs. That was the Christmas one that we did that first year at American Bake Center. And I cannot believe how many people said they had no idea that this existed. But I even know personally now, twice I've referred people that I've ran into with children that need to have a heart procedure. And I've said, you need to reach out to this organization. And so we do ask the recipients to come back and maybe tell our members. Oh, Brave the Shave was one as well. We did that one, and we presented that check at the YMCA, and that was a really neat one as well. So we asked them to come back and tell the members how was that money used, and come back full circle so that they know how their dollar was spent.
There's a lot of awareness I see that's involved here because of just learning about the organizations that they didn't know about before.
Yep. We hear it all the time.
So
I know Invisible Innocence is one that's Brandy has spoke a couple of times, and I don't think people realize that how close that is. You know, human trafficking is here, and so Keep going, Brandy.
Yeah.
She'll get there one of these times. Those members will vote on that one. I know that because every time she tells the story, she gets more and more questions, and we get more and more questions about it. Or how can I? Hey, we get an email afterwards. Hey, what was that gal's name? She got up and spoke. I want to reach out to her. I have more questions. I want to invite her to speak at my organization. So again, other little success stories that are happening there, and I don't think people know that that's happening.
Wow. I am excited for you, for Power of 100, for Deb and Tess and all the women that have been part of this and the opportunities that are yet to come. I like to close with this question each podcast. She believed she could, so she did, is our tagline.
Yeah.
So how does that apply in your life? Past,
Sure.
present?
Yeah. Well, I talk about it at my women's leadership program. And of course, my friends know this, that I lost my parents a couple of years ago. And what happened was I had 3 parents become ill. So my mom, stepdad, and my father all were diagnosed with terminal cancer within a 3-month period. And I became a full-time coworker, or in addition to working, I became a full-time caretaker. And my dad is still here with us, but I did lose my mom and my stepdad 5 years ago. And that's, I think, when I paused and reflected of how I can give back to my community, because I had stretched so much. And so a couple of things that I did, I became a volunteer at Make-A-Wish, and I became a board member at Dakota Zoo. So I like animals and children. And so I think ever since that adversity and knowing how much I could really fit into based on how I prioritized, I could do, when this opportunity came up, I'm like, yeah, we're doing it. And I think all 3 of us, Deb, Tess, and I, all 3 needed to say it to each other a couple of times. We can do this. Like, we can do this. And now we've built it so that the event is almost turnkey. We get to show up and enjoy it more so than work it, if you will. And so I don't know, the sky's the limit with this one. And one of those things where it just was easy to say we can. And we believe in it. And so we did it. And I'll continue that. I'll continue that with this mission and be an advocate for other communities. And we've mentored a couple of other communities as well. Minot, I know, wants to start a chapter, and so does Grand Forks. And we actually, I think, if Tess was here, I think someplace in maybe Nashville or something, also contacted us to start. So I don't know if we'll say no when it comes to this opportunity in this organization.
Look at that ripple effect.
Yeah, for sure. Who knew?
If women want to participate,
Oh, yeah.
how do they
Couple
find
of
you?
ways, yes. So we do have a website. It's www.bizmanpower100.com. So that's a mouthful, but if you just Google Bizman Power of 100. And then we also have a Facebook group. And so we'll post our events in there, and you can just become a member. And please just come as a guest. We say that all the time. You don't feel obligated. Just come check it out. I say that to both nonprofit organizations that want to learn more and find out how it works, to people that are in the community and they want to become members. Just come check it out. Come hang out. Show up at 5:30. We'll take good care of you.
And what is the slogan that goes?
Women who care.
Women who care, and it's simple.
Oh, yeah. On our See, you had to challenge me once.
Oh.
I didn't have all the answers.
Well, it's simple. It's easy. It's something.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's wonderful.
That was so 2 years ago. But it is women who care, and it is. It is simple.
Yeah. Well, Deidre, thank you. Thanks for caring and for sharing what you're doing and all the energy and time that you've put into this. It's really making a difference.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. The Inspired Woman podcast is sponsored by Quantum Productions, the home of the award-winning director and cinematographer Nolan Johnson. He creates unique high-end video products throughout the Midwest. You can check him out at quantumprond.com.